Okay, let's unpack this. We are doing a deep dive into what is, I think, one of the most strategic choices an emergency medicine doctor in the NHS can make.
Right, we're talking about subspecialty accreditation in pediatric emergency medicine, PEM.
And this isn't just, doing an extra rotation for fun.
No, not at all. It's a formal accreditation. It's recognized as a subspecialty of both emergency medicine, so RCEM, and pediatrics, RCPCH, here in the UK. For any of you in higher specialty training right now, this is need-to-know stuff.
Absolutely. The strategic reason for this, for you listening, is pretty clear. You do this, you get included on the GMC Specialist Register with PEM noted right next to your EM certification.
It's a massive boost, a huge bump to your clinical scope and, frankly, your marketability. You become a dual certified consultant.
What? And this is the big but. That benefit comes with a really significant professional commitment.
It does. We're talking about an entire additional year. That's 12 months, whole-time equivalent, WTE, of formal in-program training.
So for most people, that pushes your CCT timeline from 6 years out to 7.
Exactly.
So our mission today is to get into the weeds on this. We want to focus on the specific administrative pitfalls, the application strategy, and the clinical rotations that can really make or break this extra year.
Basically, we're giving you the playbook to make sure that 7th year is paid correctly, protected, and ultimately a success.
Let's start with the admin then, because I hear if you get this wrong, it can actually hit you in the wallet.
It can, immediately. The Royal College of Emergency Medicine, RCEM, their guidance is crystal clear on this. The PEM year is defined as in-program subspecialty training.
In-program?
Yes, and that's the key phrase. It means you must get a formal extension to your CCT date.
Okay, so let's just pause on that. Why is in-program so critical? What happens if you, say, just call it an out-of-program or OOP placement?
That's the trap. That's the pay trap, because it's all about pay progression. RCM is very, very strong on this. They advise you not to let it be classified as OOP, or even just a generic term like ST7 without that formal extension.
What happens?
Misclassification, especially as OOP, can trigger an HR system to default you to an old pay grade, or even freeze your pay. They suddenly see you as being off the official training ladder.
So the practical advice here is you have to be proactive. You need to chase your deanery, chase your trust HR, and make sure they officially record this as an in-program CCT date extension.
That's it. That is the only way to guarantee your pay keeps progressing in line with your actual time in training. You want to be paid for 7 years of work, not stuck at a 6-year level.
You really have to be the champion of your own payslip.
You do. And while you're sorting that, remember the rule about prior experience. You know that 6 months of PEDS or PEM you did back in your core training, probably ST3.
Yeah, everyone does that.
Right. Well, that experience, even though it's compulsory to get on this path, cannot be counted towards the 12 months you need for the subspecialty.
So it's a fresh 12 months. Why is that? Why the inflexibility?
Because the goal is totally different. The ST3 rotation is about, initial assessment, safe triage, mostly under supervision. The subspecialty year is about you performing at a consultant level.
Ah, I see.
It's about definitive management, complex diagnostics, governance. It's a completely different level of thinking, so it needs dedicated time when you're a senior trainee.
Got it. So you need an active national training number, an NTN, and you need to find a way to slot in a fresh 12 months. When's the best time to actually apply for all this?
The strategic sweet spot, I'd say, is during ST4 or ST5.
Why then?
Because it just gives everyone enough runway. It lets you integrate the PEM year, maybe as your ST6, and it gives the deanery plenty of time to sort out that CCT date extension before you get anywhere near your original finish line.
And what's the risk if you leave it too late? Say you're in ST6 and you suddenly decide you want to do it.
That's a huge risk.
Yeah.
Because if your CCT gets awarded before your PEM year actually starts, you can be automatically forced onto the post-CCT pathway.
Which is less good.
It's much less structured, it can be financially messy, and you lose the protection of your NTN. Holding that number is what guarantees your funding, your pay, and your status as a trainee for that whole extra year. You're protecting yourself.
Okay, so assuming you've navigated the admin and protected your pay, you've now got to actually win a place. Let's talk about the application.
Right. The mechanism is what you'd expect. It's centralized, it runs through the Oriole system, and it has a very rigid timeline.
When are we talking?
You generally need to have everything ready to go by late October. Then it's interviews in late January, and offers come out mid-February. You can't just be casually pulling things together last minute.
So you need a portfolio showing excellence in, what, the usual domains? Education, leadership, QI.
All the usuals. But here is the massive hurdle, the thing that catches so many good applicants out. It's the non-duplication rule.
Okay, what's that?
It means, with very few exceptions, you are strictly forbidden from using the same achievement or project to score points in more than one section.
Wait, hold on. So even if my big project on pediatric sepsis involved me leading a team, teaching the juniors about it, and presenting the QI data, I can't use that one project to score in leadership, education, and QI.
That is exactly right.
But that feels like you're punishing efficiency.
You can see it that way, but the system is designed to demand Brent. They want to see that you have a wide-ranging consultant-level capability, not just one really, really good project.
So generic EM achievements that we've all done aren't going to cut it.
Not at all. You have to be strategic. You need to collect multiple distinct, high-impact things.
Okay, so give us some concrete examples. If I'm building my portfolio, what does that look like in practice?
Sure. Let's say you use a pediatric-specific teaching qualification for your education points. Great. Now you need something totally separate for QI. Maybe you've run a project on reducing unnecessary CT head scans in kids under 5.
Okay, so that's two distinct things.
Right. And then for leadership, you need a third thing. Maybe you led the rollout of a new clinical guideline across your hospital, or you took on the rota management for the PEM unit for a few months.
So it's about building a story, showing that your interest in pediatrics isn't a one-off, it's a sustained, diverse commitment.
Exactly. You're proving your career is already leaning towards PEM leadership and governance, not just seeing the odd pediatric patient.
Okay, let's say you get through that, you get a spot. Let's talk about the 12 months itself. What's the structure?
It's very strictly defined. The 12-month WTE is a clean 50-50 split.
50-50 how?
6 months are your core pediatric emergency medicine rotation. This is where you're the senior, you're making consultant-level calls, supervising juniors, getting involved in the admin.
And the other 6 months?
Those are your supporting placements. So that has to cover general pediatrics, pediatric anesthesia, and/or pediatric intensive care, PICU.
And I hear there's one bit of that which is completely non-negotiable.
There is. This is a hard mandate from the GMC. You must spend a minimum of 3 months caring for unconscious and critically ill children.
So in reality, that pretty much means a dedicated PICU rotation is a must for almost everyone.
It does, yes.
Why is that so rigid? I mean, we stabilize critically ill kids in the ED all the time. Isn't that enough?
No, because it's a different skill set. The EM consultant is, world-class at that first hour, the resuscitation, the stabilization. But PICU is about the prolonged management.
So beyond the ED bay.
Way beyond. It's about managing complex ventilation for days, running invasive lines, titrating complex drugs over a long period. It takes your scope from initial stabilization into sustained critical care.
I can definitely see the clinical value, but let's be realistic. A super demanding PICU rotation combined with having to do out-of-hour shifts back in your home ED sounds like a recipe for burnout.
It is a massive negotiation point, and you have to be really careful here. You are mandated to maintain your links with EM by doing those OOH shifts.
But how do you manage that?
You have to get it defined in writing as educational maintenance time, not just pure service delivery.
Educational maintenance, what does that actually mean in practice?
It means the shifts have to respect working time rules. You should be arguing that you can't be scheduled for an EM night shift right after a 12-hour PICU day. And the shifts themselves should be about maintaining your adult skills, yes, but also contributing to your PEM portfolio, not just plugging rota gaps.
So it protects your rest, but also keeps the time valuable.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the curriculum and assessment then. You're building on what you already know, but taking it to a consultant level. What does that look like with something like trauma?
It's about shifting from being a team member to being the leader. So you're moving from just knowing how to help in a trauma call to leading the multi-system major trauma team call. You're the one making the final decisions.
What are the other skill gaps trainees need to actively go and fill? The stuff you don't see every day in a general ED?
This is where you have to be proactive and book yourself in. You absolutely need to get on an advanced trauma course. But beyond that, it's about finding specific people.
Like who?
Like plaster technicians. Seriously, go spend time with them. Learn how to properly apply back slabs, thumb spicas, functional braces. Get your hands dirty. It's an invaluable skill.
That's a great practical tip. What about diagnostics? We think we're pretty good at reading x-rays.
You are, but the bar is higher for subtle pediatric injuries. The single best thing you can do is schedule time to sit in on MSK reporting lists with radiologists.
Ah, to see how they do it.
You learn the pattern recognition, the correct terminology, you see the spectrum of injuries you'd otherwise miss. It's a game changer for your confidence.
And I imagine you can't just stop at the ED door. What about clinics?
Exactly. You have to follow the patient journey. Attending clinics like the emergency eye clinic or maxillofacial trauma or pediatric gynecology is essential. It shows you the definitive management and follow-up, which then informs your acute decisions back in the department.
And then assessment. This all has to be signed off. You're trying to satisfy two different colleges. How do you manage that?
With a lot of rigor. You have to link all your learning events, your SLEs, to the PEM syllabus. But the absolute key, the strategic mandate, is the dual assessor requirement.
Dual assessor.
Yes, you must get your assessments, your CBDs, your ESLE, signed off by a diverse range of people, specifically including both RCEM consultants and RCPCH PM consultants.
Why is that so important, getting both sides to sign off?
Because it forces a balanced assessment of your skills. The RCEM consultant will, quite rightly, focus on your rapid management, your resuscitation leadership, your system flow, the classic EM strengths.
And the RCPCH consultant.
They'll focus more on the complex diagnostic process, on communication with families when things are uncertain, on the interface with the wards, the pediatric strengths. You have to prove you're competent in both frameworks.
That sounds like a tough but necessary hoop to jump through. So once you've done all that, you're finally a dual accredited consultant. What's the career payoff?
It's huge. That dual certification is almost always listed as a highly desirable or essential criterion on consultant job specs. It opens the door to specialized roles immediately.
Like what kind of roles?
Pediatric trauma lead, PEM governance lead, maybe director of pediatric simulation, high-value specific leadership roles.
And with that comes job plan negotiation. A standard consultant week is about 8 direct clinical care sessions, or PAs. How do you split that?
You have to negotiate a balance that actually uses your skills. It might be slightly uneven, like 4.25 PAs in one and 3.75 in the other. But the crucial part is arguing for dedicated, ring-fenced DCC sessions just for pediatric emergency care.
Ring fence so they don't get swallowed up by the main ED.
Exactly. If it's not protected, the service pressure from the adult side will almost always erode that specialist time. What about SBA time, the non-clinical time? The standard is 1.5 PAs. Can you argue for more?
You absolutely should be arguing for more, maybe aiming for 2.0 PAs. But you can't just ask for it. You have to show them what you'll deliver with it.
So specific PEM projects?
Yes. You frame it as, this extra time is for me to lead the departmental QI on pediatric pathways, or I will be the lead for pediatric resuscitation training. You have to link the time to tangible, high-value governance work that only you can do.
That proactive negotiation just seems vital to actually using the skills you've spent a year gaining.
It is. Otherwise, there's a real risk of de-skilling. You need the hospital to be paying you to lead your subspecialty, not just to be another body on the shop floor.
Okay, that was an incredible amount of actionable detail. Let's just quickly recap the 3 absolute non-negotiables for any trainee listening to this.
First, administrative compliance. You must get your PEM year formally recorded as in-program training with that CCT date extension. It's the only thing that protects your pay.
Second, application strategy. Remember the non-duplication rule. You have to collect multiple distinct pediatric-focused achievements for your portfolio. One project won't cover everything.
And third, the clinical and assessment mandates. You have to do the minimum of 3 months in PICU for that critical care experience. And you must get your assessments signed off by both RCEM and RCPCH consultants.
When you put it all together, it feels like this subspecialty year is really the ultimate level up. It's the final step from being an expert in resuscitation, which you already are, to becoming a true leader in complex pediatric systems.
That's the perfect way to put it. It's about extending your competence beyond that initial stabilization to cover the definitive management, the complex diagnostics. And you can only get there by proactively seeking out those skills, whether that's sitting with a radiologist or mastering the logistics of a PICU transfer. The end goal is to become that consultant who can not only treat the patient, but can govern and improve the entire system of care for critically ill children. That's what really sets you apart.